Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is barbecue brisket smoked mac and cheese. Today I want to share with you guys the easiest smoked mac and cheese recipe that I know. And I'm talking like easy mac easy, just not easy mac quick. It takes a little while, but very little effort and huge reward on the flavor. Now, when we combine that with barbecue brisket, that's when we start blowing minds. But before we can get into all that, we gotta fire up the grill. Today we're cooking on the Kamdo Joe Kettle Joe with lump charcoal and just a little bit of hickory wood for the smoke. We're gonna get the firebox loaded up with some of our Kamdo Joe big block charcoal. Some of it's a little too big. That's not a problem you're used to having with charcoal. All right, we'll throw a couple fire starters in here, and then we're gonna look to stabilize the temperature right around 300 degrees with the assistance of our fireboard drive. So the fireboard drive is this little fan thing that hooks right into the air intake here. It'll work with the Kettle Joe, with any of the Kamdo style grills. It attaches here to your fireboard. In my case, I've got a Fireboard 2. It's not even a fancy one, but I've got a little cable adapter that lets us run the program, and you can use this on any ceramic grill. We're gonna set up our ambient temperature probe right here on the grate, and this is gonna communicate with the fireboard to tell the fan when to kick on. So I'll just simply put my set point at 300. It's gonna kick the fan on. That fan speed's gonna build up to 100% to feed that charcoal and that fire some oxygen to bring everything up to temperature. Now when I'm running the drive fan, I'll shut down the airflow on top to about half while it's getting up to temperature, and then as we approach that 300, we're gonna shut it down even further, but for now we'll let it have a little extra oxygen. It's been about 25 minutes since we closed up the grill. It's stabilized at 300 now, so we're gonna put together this really easy mac and cheese and get it on the smoker. So we're simply gonna combine everything in a 12-inch skillet here. And if you don't wanna do cast iron, you can just do a half-size foil pan. You won't get quite the same texture around the outside, but it'll all fit. We're starting with 8 ounces of pasta shells. We're not actually using macaroni. I actually really like these shells because when they open up just right, you might get a little bite of brisket inside the shell. Now I've got 8 ounces of pepper jack cheese grated and 8 ounces of cheddar. I'm gonna add most of that now. We're gonna save just a little bit back to put on top at the end of the cook. So we'll put about 12 ounces worth of the cheese in here now and leave about 4 ounces back. Next, we've got our seasoning. We're just gonna pick one of your favorite brisket rubs. In this case, we're using the Cattleman's Grill Lone Star brisket rub. Want about a tablespoon of that. We're gonna do a little bit of sweetness at the end of this with some barbecue sauce, so I like the idea of using a Texas style rub that's a little bit more savory in the actual mac and cheese. And then finally, we've got some half and half. I'm gonna add about 4.5 cups of half and half right now. And if we decide we want it a little bit creamier toward the end, we can always add a little bit more. So have a little extra on hand. It's gonna get all of that kind of incorporated. And seriously, that's it. Now you throw it on the smoker. The shells cook, they cook in the hot half and half. As that comes up to temp, the cheese melts. We'll give it a stir in about 45 minutes and check it out then. Now the brisket's gonna go in a little bit later. This is actually my Kansas City brisket that you guys can go watch that video on how to make it. I've got some of the point meat here. You got some of the flat and then just some of the trimmings from the edges that kind of fell apart. You probably want 2 or 3 cups of brisket in the end. Now before we get the mac and cheese on, I'm gonna take a little bit of our hickory and drop that down in the hot coals. Slide our deflector plate back into place. You can already hear that hickory popping, which is good. We want a nice clean burn. Get that skillet positioned just right and close her up. Well, we're doing the 45-minute check now. You can see it's already picking up that smoke on the surface, so you're gonna get some of that smokiness into this mac and cheese. Our shells are growing just a little bit, and our cheese is beginning to melt, but obviously still lots of standing liquid. So I just like to come in here and give it a little stir, make sure nothing's sticking to the bottom too much. For this temperature though, it's not gonna scorch. It's all looking really good. We're just gonna close this back up and check on it in about 30 more minutes. It's been another 30 minutes now. We can really see this getting creamy. Those shells have really plumped up. So we're kind of at the finishing touches stages, which means we're gonna add in our already smoked brisket. A couple cups of that and give it a stir. We just need to leave this in here long enough to kind of warm back up. So another 15 or 20 minutes should be fine. Might as well do just a little bit more. And just to make sure this doesn't dry out, I'm just gonna add a little bit more half and half. This part I'll always do just by sight. And you'll kind of, the more you make this, and you, trust me, you're gonna make this over and over again once you try it, you kind of get an eye for just how creamy or thick or runny you really want this to be. I want just a little bit more runny texture. I mean, this is also up to preference too. If you don't want it super creamy, I'm not sure what's wrong with you, but you can do that. And then we're just gonna hit the top with the remaining cheddar and pepper jack just to get a nice melt right over the top. Well, it's been another 15 minutes for a total cook time of about 2 hours on our smoked mac and cheese, which is pretty good when you consider the smoke flavor that we've worked into this thing. At this point, the cheese is all melted on top, the brisket's had enough time to warm up inside, so we're ready to pull it off and get a taste. Looking ooey gooey and delicious. Let's dish it up. Oh my goodness. Just gonna finish this off with a little bit of a barbecue sauce, whatever your favorite sauce is right now. I'm gonna use this Big Rick's Original is fantastic, kind of sweet Kansas City style. I'm not gonna go crazy with this, but just a little drizzle right over the top. Now we've got sweet to go with our savory and our creamy. Can't wait to give it a taste. It's gonna be stupid hot, isn't it? Mmm. So smoky delicious. I love that little bit of barbecue on top, that barbecue sauce, because when you get these little bites of brisket, they're so creamy and savory, but the sweetness just really sets it off. Man, it is not gonna be hard to take out a pan of this stuff. So whip one up for your next get together with your family, maybe over the holidays, or if you can stand to do it, just the next time you cook a brisket, save a little back for this. This is where it's at. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out allthingsbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.